All right, hello and welcome everyone to our CodeX group meeting. It's Thursday, November 30th, and we have actually four amazing presentations lined up for you all today. We only announced three, but we had a third one joining the group. So we have Kieran McConigal, Assistant GC at ISTA, and Finn Casey Fierro, who's a master student in computational finance at University College of London, who will be talking about their smart contract platform for trading digital assets. And then we have Lina Kim and Mehul Arora, who are the co-founders of Lightbulb ML, who will be talking about automating patent drafting with machine learning. Then we have Jonah Böddinghaus, who's the co-founder and CEO of Daiki, which is a platform and machine learning co-pilot to build responsible and legally compliant AI systems. And then last but not least, we have Atal Agarwal, who is the founder of Immigrant First, the Immigrant First platform. So amazing lineup for you all today. We have an hour typically for this meeting, so I would ask all the presenters to keep their presentation to actually less than 15 minutes, so you can leave a little bit of time for folks to ask questions. So be concise, please. And folks, if you have questions or updates for the group, please use the chat function. And you can also unmute yourself to ask questions. All right, with that, I think we'll kick it off with Kieran and Finn. All right, so I see Finn already. Okay, over to you, Finn.
Hi, unfortunately, Kieran couldn't be here today. He sends his sincere apologies. My name is Finn. I come from UCL. And let me just pull this up. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to be presenting MISCA, which is a standardized smart contract architecture for making complex financial contracts into smart contracts so that they can be deployed. So we're going to start with some really recent innovations. There is the common domain model, which is a data types model, the digital asset derivative definitions, the ISDA master agreement, and the Ethereum virtual machine, or Ethereum. So what is the ISDA master agreement, in case you're not entirely sure at the minute? It's a comprehensive legal framework which is used for a certain type of financial transaction called a derivative, which is kind of like a bet that the price will go up, or the price, or the price will go down, or the price will stay within a volatility, a certain volatility. And in this legal framework, you have payment obligations or default scenarios, netting kind of provisions, event disruptions, amendments, and termination provisions as well. The over-the-counter derivatives every year market is around $500 trillion in value. And the majority of this is done through this ISDA master agreement. And one of these new kind of innovations that they've been pushing forward with Kieran is one of the definitions booklets that they publish, or definitions documentation, which is really innovative in that it takes a clause which is operative or transactional, and then it makes it into controlled natural language. So here you see the settlement terms of a non-deliverable future, forward, sorry. So it says here, if the settlement price is greater than the forward price, then do this or else this, which is really easily translatable into smart contract code. And then the common domain model is quite
Finn,
fast.
Are you sharing slides?
Yeah, can you not see
that? I see the slides.
I can, but it might be just my setup. Can others see Kieran's slides?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Apologies. All right. I'll find it. Sorry.
Can you still see them now? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I see the screen. Further, what does the ISDA common domain model looks like?
And so this kind of this model is a data style, a data type model. So it's basically a way for banks to all format their data in the exact same way so that regulators can come in and be like, okay, well, this makes sense. It all looks very similar. In Ethereum, I don't think I need to go on too much about this. It's a world-shared computer, which is decentralized, and you can deploy smart contracts on. You can have financial instruments on there, and it's having some regulatory issues. So what does MISCA add? Basically, place a financial agreement all in one place, make it automated, compliant, and decentralized. And it starts with a new visual language designed to bring together lawyers and computer scientists. So here, to begin with, you have something called a smart confirmation contract, which would take, like the traditional confirmation contract in the ISDA ecosystem, all of the economic terms in the agreement state, and you can condition that with the common domain model that I said before into these data types. And then you can also hold references in this to natural language documentation, whether through a hash or just reference it as a string or as a IPFS kind of hash as well. And then it also holds a list of the different logic modules. And these are kind of single function smart contracts that don't have any state and only contains logic. And this logic is operative clauses. As before I showed in that snippet of the little diagram, and each model is standardized so that lawyers and legal practitioners can kind of understand where the clause has been translated into the code. And each of these logic modules can interact with the wider decentralized finance ecosystem. And then you have exogenous smart contracts, which are kind of like the traditional ones you know of, Uniswap, Chainlink, USDC. These logic modules interact with these exogenous smart contracts. And then you have the natural language documentation, which would be the ISDA master agreement, anything you want. So this allows kind of these diagrams to be built, and this is kind of the architecture I'm kind of proposing. So here, the two logic modules would be the buyer sign and the seller sign logic modules. Each of them are permissioned by the smart confirmation contract to alter its state. And the smart confirmation contract here references the master agreement and the product confirmation. So this would be a really simple signed agreement. And here's a derivative contract in which you would have, again, the references to the different definitions in the agreement. You have signing, you would have fixing of a cash settlement amount, the paying of the cash settlement amount, as well as here, a performance illegality disruption. And then here, you know, as I said before, you have exogenous smart contracts getting involved, oracles, stable coins. And the kind of key behind this is to make the innovations that I'm proposing to be incremental. So financial institutions don't have to switch all at once, or they can switch and then switch back out of it. So each logic module can be added, subtracted at any point, so that, you know, at the very start, you have this like 5-year-long financial derivative contract, and you have the signing at the very start as logic modules. And then maybe 2 years into it, you're like, okay, let's do the settlement as well. You would just kind of plug it in and it would work. As well as all of the logic modules are deployed once, so that all you have to do is create a new smart confirmation contract, assign it the correct logic modules, and you'll be ready to go. So each of these logic modules are kind of written for legal interpretation. The first section of them is kind of the getting of the state. This means initiating the objects that you're interested in, getting the variables that are relevant here, like a Boolean of whether the cash settlement amount is paid, who the buyer is, who the seller is, what settlement currency address is. And then the second section is requirements. Well, is the person calling the buyer? Is the person calling the seller? And then the third part here is the logic body, which is the actual logic that the logic module is going to be operating on. And here you can see like the logic body is actually directly derived from clause 2.1.1 of the digital asset definitions shown at the very start. And at the very end of this, you have the setting of the state. So I would kind of imagine that a legal practitioner would understand this structure when they see the representation of the contract. And then this kind of like separates smart contracts into different areas of legal impact. So in the first order periphery, you have the logic modules chosen by the parties. So this would be kind of like what you're directly responsible for. And then outside of that, like the second order periphery is, outside DeFi smart contracts. Like you can't be expected to be, entirely in control of Chainlink's price oracle or something like that. Okay, and so this kind of requires a new type of lawyer. I kind of term it the legal architect, who has both legal expertise in contract law, regulatory compliance, blockchain and fintech innovations, as well as kind of technological expertise, understanding what logic modules are, the interfaces needed, and to be able to kind of code these both together. So there'll be the legal drafting, which is sent to a legal architect who would create one of these templates. This template would be uploaded to a decentralized application, and you'd be able to operate on it. So now I'm going to do the demo. It's the fun part. Okay, so here you have, just make this a little bigger. Here you have kind of a smart confirmation contract in the center, in which you can view all of the smart confirmation contract code. If you know Solidity, this is just a mapping of a string to a value. Then you can add different natural language contracts to it. This is digital asset definitions and the master agreement. And then you would choose the different logic modules relevant, buy assign or sell assign here, the different disruptions. And then after that, you would it would show up here, and you would select it, and then you would fill in all of the relevant transactional terms. I kind of, my feeling is that it should be quite similar to how contracts are already confirmed. So in the ISDA confirmations, they look like this. You would choose a different applicable disruption events. You would choose a different applicable fields that is relevant to you. You would create a new contract. It would get sent off to MetaMask, off to your RPC, and then just duck this down. And then here you would be able to see a live overview of your derivative contract. The price here is gained from Chainlink. The horizontal line here is the forward price. And this is the settlement time period after this, 7 p.m. I don't know when that is. But you see here all the relevant data, the pair, what the current price is, forward price. The buyer and the seller would be able to interact and sign. And then you'd be able to view all of this information immutably, the benefits of the blockchain. All of the different condition data is here, whether the buyer signed, whether the seller signed. Here it's come through as true. The smart contract would be available for you to view as well. All the different logic modules that you chose. The contract itself is available for you to see. I think it's important as well that if you wanted to print out the document, it would have a QR code to be able to link you from the natural language document to this website. Each different agreement has its own URL. And then you'd have kind of like an AI kind of lawyer assistant. This contract. And then depending on how fast ChatGPT's API is today, it will come back to you with all of the different kind of relevant information for it. And this kind of like structure can be extrapolated to any type of financial transaction or like financial contract. If you wanted it for a mortgage, if you wanted it for, I don't know, like a salary, it would be able to be implemented as well. So let's hope this works. I'm going to give it another few seconds. If not, no worries. Classic demos. They only work in theory. Okay, forget it. Let me stop sharing. So thank you. I guess this is my presentation done. Feel free to shoot some questions. I think there's one question here from someone called Bruce. There's one question here, which is, am I using an LLM or actually parsing the natural language with a grammar? So I'm using an LLM. I'm just connecting this to the ChatGPT API. I'm sending it to ChatGPT, I think 4 or 3.5 Turbo. But yeah. Bruce is not able to start his video on mic.
Yeah, so, okay, so Megan, can you please try to unmute Bruce? And yeah, sorry, I was
Hi, Finn.
logged out for a moment too. Yeah,
Hi,
Bruce, can
Finn.
you ask a question?
Yeah, please. So, Finn, when you think about this for insurance, particularly for making home insurance claims more easily settleable, what do you see the likelihood that the major insurers would buy into this so as to make the endorsements, which you know can go on for many, many, many different exhibits and be totally legalese, more understandable for the homeowners, let's say, the insureds.
Sure. I'm not entirely familiar with the life cycle of a with the insurance. Could you run me through it? Is it the
So
how is it?
you in the States, we buy it every year, and
Mhm.
it's reissued with reams of paper none of us read that have exclusions to the exclusions, except when the moon is blue halfway, right? So it's made totally deliberately hard to navigate to know whether a particular risk is insured or not. How might what you're doing make it clearer both to the insured, the homeowner, let's say, and the insurer what is covered, and then when there's a loss, speed up the payment of the claim because they know it's insured.
Yeah, I suppose in that way you would have the logic modules for these specific kind of events that you're saying, these out of blue moon events, and then you might have an oracle or a provider, an API, which comes in and says, I've deemed this to happen. And then, you know, either the bank or the insurer, sorry, the insurer would come in and say, like, you know, I guess it would be the insured person which would call the insurer and say, look, I want to raise a claim. And then it would go to the API, and then the API would write, yes, it did happen, or yes, it didn't happen. And then you would go to a different logic module, which would be for settlement. But I suppose I haven't really considered this.
Well, there's an
yeah,
area called parametric insurance. In other words, when the flood is at 3 feet, they just pay the claim. There's no argument. So you might want to look at parametric insurance as a starting point.
So there's a couple of other questions also, Matthew and Diego, but we're a little bit sort of short on time today. But I think it's really fascinating what you're doing, Finn. And if you could try to answer those questions in the chat, that would be great. And also put your email address into the chat so that folks, if they have additional questions, they could reach you. That would be great. But it's really interesting. So you know, for me, listening to your presentation, I was first, you know, this was like you know, I'm thinking logic modules and smart contracts, and then you combine it with like the large language model aspect, and you're thinking about the lawyer of the future. So there's a lot more to unpack, and I hope there will be an opportunity in the future to talk more about this, because it's quite intriguing. But unfortunately, today we have like only so much time. So really appreciate you giving us a little kind of sort of you know, kind of short intro, and hopefully there will be more time to discuss more down the road.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you again, Finn. So I will turn it over to Lina, I think is going next, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
All right, so Lina, over to you.
All righty. Thanks so much, Roland. And after that incredible presentation by Finn, I thought that I'd introduce me and Mehul by a quick intro. And so nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Lina, and I'm CEO and co-founder of LightBulbML. I got my degrees in computer science for bachelor's and my master's in management science and engineering at Stanford. And I come from mostly a background in AI research. So I've done a lot of work at the intersection of AI policy and law, which really just spurs my love for legal tech. And I also spent some time at McKinsey. Passing it over to Mehul.
Hey everyone, my name is Mehul. I am the CTO of LightBulbML. I also got my degrees in computer science for my undergrad and MS&E for my master's. I come from more of a product and engineering background, did a couple stints in big tech at Microsoft and Amazon, and over my college career got into patent law. I had a standing offer to work as a patent agent, but decided to focus on building this instead.
And with that, without further ado, I wanted to talk to you guys about LightBulbML, where we're working on accelerating the patenting process with AI. And since we had such a fantastic technical presentation by Finn last round, I actually thought that I'd change up the energy and actually start us off with a TV show reference on Suits. So TV shows like Suits have really popularized a view of lawyers as charismatic podium speakers that lead a life full of exhilarating legal loophole discoveries. But many of you know all too well that the reality of law looks much more like this. Hours staring at the word interface, typing out legal minutiae in painstaking detail. And unfortunately for many of us, no Meghan Markle there. But the question that we want to answer is, why don't lawyers have more fancy tech? And our thesis is that it just comes down to misaligned incentives. Like, legal tech is outdated, but it's because law is often built on billable hours. And if a technology is only going to give incremental benefits, we've heard over and over again from practicing attorneys that they don't want to waste time they could have been billing $1,000 an hour to a client learning a new technology. And it also means that the incentives to reduce billable hours just aren't there. And that also means that the bar for adopting new tech is that much higher. And up until now, the tech that would shatter the industry just wasn't there. But we told you in the beginning that we were working in patent law. So how is patent law different today? And we think the biggest thing is that the tech is different. Large language models like GPT-4 are now really able to bring value to every part of a lawyer's workflow. It's like the tech was made for the legal industry, where the sole product is the written word, highly structured, based on massive amounts of prior knowledge. This is not an incremental tech. This is a game-changing tech. For patent law specifically, we also actually get an alignment of incentives. Patent law often operates on a fixed cost per patent structure, and that means that patent firms out of other legal firms are uniquely incentivized to increase efficiency and take on more caseload. And that's why we're building in patent law.
Yeah, most of our work right now is focusing on shortening the patent drafting process for patent attorneys. Let us take you through an overview of what this process looks like. The biggest chunk of time in the patent attorney's process is in two steps. One is drafting the claims, which is often a trait of the art. It is the thing that requires most intellectual knowledge and is very creative. And the other biggest part, which takes up to 90% of the time, is drafting the detailed description, which is a manual and tedious task, which takes a lot of time. Which brings us to our first product. We're going to target the detailed description, taking it from weeks to hours with the help of AI. And in the future, we plan on expanding to taking over a bigger chunk of the patenting pipeline. Here's a quick little peek at our landing page and the product that we've been building. We've been having a blast building it the last couple of months. And now we'll move on to a demo. Yeah, so here I'm going to create a new patent, just do some housekeeping, do a little bit of just the name of the patent. And all we really need to do here is paste in a set of claims. And in the parts list, we're going to paste in a list of parts. And this is a method patent. So we're going to paste in a list of steps of the method. And we're going to hit generate. And within a few minutes, we're going to have content that is ready to be, going to hit refresh real quick. And in a few seconds, we're going to have content that is ready to be put into a patent application. And the thing that we've been building a lot more on in these past couple of weeks is evaluating how well these systems do. And so after we engineer, we can hit the evaluate button, and a bunch of evaluations relevant to the patent industry are going to appear, such as not using words like require, which is often considered patent profanity. So we've been having a blast building this product, and oh, that was not great. But we've been having a blast building this product, and happy to answer any questions on that later.
Yeah, and so our first target user is actually law firms, because most patents filed today go through law firms, and they're often the ones that are most incentivized to improve their efficiency and take on more clients. And for the law firms out there, we believe it's really time to level up. LLMs, or large language models, are really here to stay. And we believe that AI really has potential to make space for innovations and handle the grunt work so that patent attorneys can focus on the creative tasks that matter. And we believe that in doing so, we will be able to 10 times improve the workflow efficiency of these attorneys by streamlining the patent drafting process to handle more cases faster and better, to really leverage the max ability of these agents. And one thing that we wanted to mention is in the process of building for law firms, I think the most common question that we've gotten is on privacy. So we actually wanted to preempt that a little bit here. It goes without saying, but we've doubled down on our commitment to privacy in every aspect of our tech stack. Our entire infrastructure is built around privacy and security, from user accounts to our web platform and all the way to the actual generative AI models that we're using. We obsess with proper data security and sandboxing in particular, to really ensure that no confidential data is being leaked externally or even between clients. And if anyone is interested in hearing more, we're happy to discuss the details in more depth with any potential partners. And with that, we wanted to end on a bird's eye view of our journey. So we've actually been working with a boutique patent law firm located in San Francisco as our paid design partner to build out our initial product. We think that we got really exciting reactions. They've committed to taking the next step with us as one of our pilot customers. One of the founding partners of the firm actually independently decided to work with us as an angel investor after a collaboration because he was so excited by what we were building and had built up until that point. So after that green light, we're now in the stage where we're looking ahead to a pilot with a bigger group of first customers and actively looking for patent law firms to partner with for a pilot. So let us know if you are interested or know someone that would be interested in working with us, and definitely stay tuned for more news in the upcoming months. And with that, we thought that we'd want to drop our emails so that any of you can reach out separately and leave it open for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lina and Mehul. This is very interesting. So how does it work? How does it work, and how do you train the system? Are you training a separate model, or is it this mostly sort of like a form of retrieval augmented generation or specific prompting that makes it more targeted towards the patent context?
Yeah, so the answer is all of the above. We don't view these things. So you mentioned retrieval augmented generation or prompting or fine-tuning and training models. We think all of these are part of building a cohesive patent agent AI. So we're actually leveraging all of those things in our stack. So not only are we really fine-tuning models to understand both how should a patent be written, which we're doing on the entire USPTO database of like all written patents, but we're also fine-tuning on, okay, well, how does a specific firm like to write or structure their patents? So doing style transfer as well. For retrieval augmented generation, for the lawyers in the room that might not be familiar with AI, that's basically what we're using as the library of knowledge that our AI is able to retrieve information from to augment whatever content it generates. So definitely also using RAG. And then when it comes to prompting, we think that that's just part of how do good engineers interact with these models to really guide and elicit the kind of desired behavior. So definitely all of the above.
Okay, great. Very interesting. I see, let's see, Spencer has his hand up.
Hi. So I'm a patent attorney myself, and when I draft, I usually start with claims and then figures and kind of go from there. Does your platform allow for kind of integration of figures to kind of build that detailed description off of, or is it kind of a okay? Yeah, I was just curious how your flow worked on there, if there was one kind of set structure of flow that you use, or if it's kind of open to different drafting styles.
Yeah, so as we showed briefly in our presentation, right now we're starting with claims and a list of parts to almost replace the figures. But that's actually something that we're working on actively right now, because we did hear the feedback that, claims and a parts list or an outline is great. What about figures? So we've been working on our own models to really make sure that we're able to do that effectively. And this maybe also gets to a question in the chat, which is there are competitors working in this space, but oftentimes we find that their models just aren't like taking in the context correctly to build up the accurate internal representation of an invention, method, or system. So that's something that we've been focusing on, but we anticipate that coming out really soon.
Yeah, just adding a little bit. This was also shown briefly in the demo, but there is a third tab in there that says extra context, which we're working to make work with XML files, and you can just drop in an XML file there, and it's gonna build up an accurate representation of what the invention actually is.
Yeah, and to answer Lance's question around how we stack up against competitors in a bit more detail. So essentially, the partner that we're working with actually was called by all of these competitive firms working in the AI and patent space. And they chose to work with us because essentially what we've discovered is there's a very finicky way of building up an accurate representation of what an invention actually is, right? Like with a toy car, sure, you can know that it has wheels and a body and axles, but like how do all these things fit together and relate to one another? And it's really important to build up an accurate representation of that in order to then understand, well, what is the legal umbrella I want to put over this toy car? And essentially what we heard from our partners after having worked with all of these products or many of these products is essentially that many of our competitors aren't doing the due diligence in building up a really accurate and rigorous representation of these inventions in a way that is reflected in the infrastructure of their tech stack, which we are doing. So I'd say that that is probably the most notable differentiation between us and our competitors.
Cool. Laina, Mehul, thank you so much also for your, I mean, this is very cool and exciting, and we'd love to talk more, but we're on a sort of tight schedule today. So unfortunately, we have to kind of wrap up here, but you previously shared your email already. There's a few more questions coming in for you. It'd be great if you could answer them and perhaps share your email again through the chat. And thank you so much. This is very cool. Appreciate you sharing with our community here.
Awesome. Thanks, Roland.
Great to have you. Thank you again. And now over to Jonah and Daiki.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello from dark, cold, and very snowy Europe. Let me share the screen. All right. Good. So my name is Jonah Bettinghaus. I am co-founder of Daiki. Daiki, the name comes from the Greek goddess Dike, goddess of justice. So Daiki is about justice and responsible AI. It originated from a research project with the University of Vienna. Mark Zuckerberg, leading AI researcher, we collaborated and researched how can we take this high-level AI ethics principles and embed them into ML development practice. Was the original idea. And then we quickly realized that the only way to actually do this is with a diverse and interdisciplinary team. So we joined forces with a really great founder team. Also, Maurits Koop is on the founder team now at Stanford. So we really combine ethics, legal, design, and of course, machine learning expertise. So the mission of Daiki really is to enable AI teams to build responsible AI projects and products. And with responsible, we mean also sustainable and successful AI products. Because we as machine learning developers and AI consultants experience quite a lot often that AI projects fail in very early stages and for reasons that are really avoidable. And I mean, if you're only partly in computer science, then AI is all over the place, obviously, and everybody talks about AI, large language models, and so on. But actually, if you look at the numbers and look how far AI adoption really is, then it's really embarrassingly low. So we really need more AI rather than less AI. And then when you look at the reasons why AI adoption still is so low, then one of the main answers or reasons is that AI is becoming a mature service and kind of category, like software 10, 20 years ago. But still, it's far away from just being a complete service and a plug and play tool kind of thing. Maybe there's some tooling with LLMs and popular use cases, but generally implementing AI sustainably, especially in larger organizations, requires a lot more than just plugging in another software tool. And with Daiki, we really want to provide a platform to enable AI strategy and AI development in a responsible and successful way. That's the mission. And how do we do it? So really short presentation here, and then can quickly jump over to the demo. So if you think of law as the code of human society, right, then Daiki shall be the code of AI processes. It sounds nice, but what does it mean? I mean, the process is basically the way to inform how an AI product is being built. And Daiki, as a software platform, will provide the guardrails and the process, the templates to actually build AI products. And it does so by providing a SaaS solution where we offer a always-on context-sensitive assistant, a chatbot-like assistant that guides teams through the process. It also provides a knowledge base with templates, best practices, tutorials, so very specific, down to very specific use cases in AI for different verticals and industries. And it provides a document and quality management system. This is very important if you want to think about compliance, risk control, and also regulatory spaces like medical devices or finance, insurance, legal domains where AI regulation is important. The UAI Act is on the horizon and many other initiatives. So when you want to be compliant and build compliant AI systems, it's really important to have a quality management and document management system in place that you can rely on. So let's switch to the product demo. The fun part indeed, as the speakers mentioned. So Daiki is a project management tool without interrupting or interfering with existing tools. So it integrates with other project management tools or work management, code management, developer tools. But of course, it also presents overviews of your projects. For example, this view here gives a team lead or a product manager an overview how far the project is down the road to responsibility, AI maturity. Here you can see a readiness level of responsibilities. Responsibilities are the pieces of tasks or document pieces that a team must fulfill to actually build the complete responsible AI product. You have this knowledge base here, which, as I mentioned, is one of the core parts of the product. We provide very specific, very detailed and rich advice and templates for different use cases. So responsible large language models, UAI Act conformity assessments and process templates, medical device regulation templates and attached quality management systems, and many more. And then lastly, you have this documentation section here, where basically your complete process is described in a process view, but also in a form where you can directly interact with the content. So if you, for example, filter for the ethics part, you would see one responsibility that your team has to fulfill when building this AI system is a risk impact analysis. And if we go to full screen here, we can see this is quite similar to what you would do in medical device regulation, for example, where you would define your risk events, your probability scores to these events, and your mitigation strategies for these risks. That's classical risk management. We boil it down to specific AI use cases and provide these templates that are then a blueprint for successful AI projects. And of course, at the same time, the compliant and certification ready documentation. You can directly edit here and you can assign it to your coworkers. You can put this document to review, have it versioned and sealed so that everything is in place for certification, for example. And then finally, of course, the most fun part is this assistant here, Daiki, which basically guides you through the complete process. let's jump back to the start here. And what the interesting thing here about this Daiki assistant is that it will ask you a question. It's a scripted assistant that basically helps you fill out this complete process, of do the process, but also fill out this documentation. And it lives as a floating window on top of your desktop. It integrates with all your tools. So you as a developer or a product manager can use this Daiki assistant to, on the fly, fill out the documentation and build the AI system. Of course, it's also a chatbot-like system. So for example, if you ask him, what is responsible AI? It will indeed query the Daiki knowledge base, and hopefully also live demo, yes, gives you an answer. Responsible AI refers to the practice of designing and developing AI systems that are not only technically proficient, but also ethical, transparent, and accountable, and so on. Interesting note here, because we heard LLMs and RAG already quite often today. We scanned the landscape. We were not happy with existing RAG solutions, so we built our own system. So what you see here is really a complete, from scratch developed RAG system that we also offer for our customers. So the retrieval augmented generation system and the whole LLM infrastructure that we built is available for Daiki customers as a content package, as a template that can be implemented in a process. Currently discussing and working on this use case with a large Swedish company and a very large company from the defense space, where, like I said in the beginning, it's not only about using LLM as a one-click solution, but really integrate such a powerful technology in the complete organization and in the complete workflows that exist there. So this RAG system here, completely private, based on our own developments and directly integrated into Daiki. Yes, looking at the clock, I think that's enough for the very first intro.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jonah. That's super interesting too. It reminds me a bit of, some of these platforms that are out there that help companies comply with ISO or with SOC and those frameworks. And so
Yes.
my question is, you also mentioned you help a company get ready for certification, but are there certifications out there already in responsible, legally compliant AI world? It seemed to me that all these frameworks are still kind of murky and just emerging. And so what are some of the first of all,
Yes.
what are some of the frameworks that you're using to kind of guide your system, and what sort of whatever internationally recognized frameworks are there that you can help people work towards certification?
Yes, thank you. Very good question. So first of all, I mean, Daiki is really focused on enablement AI. So it's really a broader topic than just certification, but of course, certification is very important. You're totally right that this whole field is very dynamic and the new standards are emerging. There are already some good and fresh standards from ISO and also IEEE that we use. For example, the IEEE standard is basically a huge checklist that you need to comply with. It's a perfect use case for an assistant that really can guide you through this checklist and ask questions and learn more about your system to check if it's compliant according to IEEE. One good example that we're actually using is also medical device regulation. We are ISO 13485 certified ourselves, and this whole process is quite similar to what, for example, the EU AI Act demands for high-risk AI systems. So if you apply this to AI, and of course you need to change a lot of things because AI and ML is specific, then you are on track towards AI certification.
Cool. Does your system then help also monitor continued compliance, or is it just sort of the initial kind of creation of the system, and then after that it's sort of like
no, exactly. I mean, of course, yeah, definitely. It's covering the complete AI lifecycle, so including deployment, operations monitoring, and version control. That's all covered. We provide tools for that and processes. Daiki itself as a platform is tool agnostic. So we provide our own tools, for example, for monitoring where appropriate, but we also recommend tools to integrate that are already there, for example, for monitoring or experiment tracking and so on.
Awesome. Great. Well, Jonah, thank you so much. If you could, answer any questions that have come in. I don't see any further questions at the moment, but yeah, if you could hang around. I know it's already pretty late over in Europe, but if you could hang around a little bit more just to answer any questions, that would be great. And I think you also shared your email already for folks who may have some questions for you. Thank you again, Jonah. This is super cool and very timely, of course. And yeah, let's turn it over to Atal, who's going to be our last presenter today.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm presenting Immigrant First today. And Immigrant First actually started at the Stanford LLM hackathon. But I think 6 months ago, I was participating in this hackathon, and I was the first thing that I got to first figure out is my own immigration thing. And I was using ChatGPT that day to write my own petition. And then I was okay, how can I turn it into a product and help other people? So that's how we started Immigrant First, using AI to artificial intelligence to turn dreams into real dreams for people. It's an AI-powered marketplace for immigrants. So what we saw is the problem is immigrants are struggling, and shelter is one of the basic needs. It's at the bottom, and you cannot self-actualize until your shelter is fixed. We found a few problems, and looking at the market, there are around 280 million global immigrants. They have a $2 trillion impact on US GDP. And if we just look at how much money they transfer, it's a $550 billion in remittance. We found 3 user personas initially: H-1B workers who have 60 days when they lose their job. And I faced it. So I was this is really bad. Then students who come to America, they have 12 to 36 months on OPT. And then O1 visa is pretty hard to get. So employers don't want to hire immigrants, and immigrants can't build their own companies. So it's pretty challenging situation for immigrants in America. People have been talking about how the immigration law is not changing, and it's so stupid to make immigration so hard. So we started with writing EB-1A and O1 petition. And we learned that the problem is that it's expensive and it takes a lot of paperwork. So high cost of application and time consuming to write all that evidence together. And people don't know they can do self-filing. And our solution approach is, first is we do an AI evaluation, then we get you expert guidance, then we do your AI generated application, and then lawyer filing. Technology is we use GPT-4 plus Claude to first of all understand where you lie in your profile. Then we use Perplexity Copilot to kind of build a strong arguments. Along with the external information, USCIS documentation, we help you generate your petition. This is our team. I'm Atal. I developed some products during COVID, which were used by Google, Apple, State of New York. And then here's my team. They have experience of working at Intuit, American Express, and top AI companies. I'm from UCSB and IIT Kharagpur. We have won a lot of awards with this product in this whole area, Bay Area. And then we are a part of a lot of accelerator. We have around 400 immigrants now on the platform, 5 lawyers and 5 experts who are using the services through our platform. Our vision is to bring immigrants, lawyers, employers, and experts, all of them together under one platform, so that immigrants never have to suffer and struggle through the immigration law. Now, let me show you how the product works. This is our website, immigrantfirst.ai. The way we help is we supercharge our application with AI, say goodbye to redundancy, and save on cost. It's a 4-step process: evaluation, AI generated application, lawyer review, and filing. And our services are for immigrants and lawyers both. Now I'm going to go and sign up here as an immigrant. when I sign up as an immigrant, this is like the dashboard. Then there is profile of the immigrant. These are all the documents of the immigrant where they can upload everything. This is the marketplace where they can find lawyers, experts of people who have like navigated other immigration themselves. And you can like say that, hey, I want to book a meeting with this person. And you can just like say 30 minutes, book a time, choose a time, book a meeting. And you will have all your appointments lined up here. We have a chat bot which can answer questions for your documents, for answering your RFE template. Now let's go into this application. When I go into this application, the way it works is first we get your resume, then we get your additional documentation, and then we generate your evaluation, which is the first part using generative AI. We get you guidance, first get a consultation with the lawyer, then finalize the lawyer, then pay the lawyer fees. Once you do all this process, then it's collecting your documentation in different USCIS categories for every visa. Then the next part is we have templates for generating your recommendation letters. This is all using generative AI. So it will create like a great story about you. And then writing the whole petition together, which is the cover letter and getting the index together and getting into each evidence. So this is how it works for immigrant. Now, this is the expert portal. So experts can integrate the calendars and meetings can be booked with them. They can edit their profile. And then the last part, this is like the lawyer dashboard. So lawyers have their clients, their leads. They can add a lead, they can add a client. When they go and they are like, hey, I want to work with this person, they can create their application and they see the same view, documents, letters, application, and everything. Then this is their lawyer's profile, lawyer's appointment, chatbot for lawyers. So yeah, that's pretty much about our product and how it's helping immigrants. Yeah, happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Great, thank you, Atal. I have to say, all your lawyers are very good looking. That seems to be a kind of requirement. But it's very cool, and I know that you know, some friends of mine who are in the immigration process, they've been trying to just use, you know, ChatGPT to help them and kind of pull together their application. Could you maybe talk a little bit first about like all the things that you decided to do to kind of, you know, build an interface and a user experience around it to make the process simpler? And then secondly, is this in your go-to-market? Are you going to the immigrant directly, who then is supposed to find a lawyer for the last mile, basically, or are you sort of also going to law firms who use you to generate everything and for their clients?
Yeah. So I mean, I started, I was also using ChatGPT for my application and was doing the basic stuff of at least writing and drafting recommendation letters if you know how to do the right prompting. But I mean, still, you have to take a lot of help from a lawyer to get that letter in the right format, or even to get the petition in the right format. These petitions are like 100, 200 pages documents. So ChatGPT definitely fails in getting it in a high quality. So that's where I think our platform kind of has all the vector database, everything is stored in one place, and then able to understand how are we going to actually build a story for this person for any visa, and ensuring that, I mean, ethics is a big part now, and AI is law. Like, I mean, in the whole judicial system, they are talking about how it needs to be human reviewed. So we have lawyer always in the process and making sure that whatever is going to USCIS, it's evaluated by a lawyer, and AI is used as a way to kind of improve it further. Now, in terms of how we are marketing it, I mean, initially we thought we would be able to automate every part of it, but down the line we realized it's not coming out high quality. And so we got a ton of immigrants initially, and people were like, hey, I need this help, and they came to our platform. And now people are getting all these services. Now we needed service providers. So I was like, okay, let's get lawyers on the platform and experts who can help. And it became like more automatically, it became like more of a marketplace model where services are getting offered. Along with that, we have case management as well. So when nowadays I'm selling and talking to lawyers and law firms, and the value prop offered is it's a case management software, so you don't have to worry about case management anymore. We are offering you business development because we are getting you high quality leads, and it's a business on per lead also. So business on per lead, based business on SaaS, and I'm offering them all the drafting technology to be able to create like a very strong basic drafts for the petition. Down the line, talking with law firms also, and some of them are very interested. So these days, I'm just giving them demos and having them access to the platform, see how they like the flow and what is their style of working. Some of the law firms are like, hey, we are happy to share our data and you can integrate that to improve the success rate. So that is also, I'm hearing it's going very well.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Katie is saying your product is desperately needed. Then she will reach out to her law school, MLK Junior Hall, UC Davis, which has a clinic, immigration clinic, and they might be happy to use your product in a clinic, which would be a great multiplier for you too. And even the dean is an immigration law expert there. So
yeah, no, definitely. I think even employers are reaching out to us who want to hire immigrants on O1 visas. So we are building that part out. So in terms of our 4 market segments, lawyers, we have a product. Immigrants, we have a product. We have a product for experts. The employer side is another way to get into. And universities, since they have students coming on F1, and a lot of students are struggling to resolve their immigration challenges, it comes out automatically as like a university partner also. And we can, since it's thought from an immigrant point of view and immigration requires approvals regularly, we would always have this immigrant there and we can always solve their problems down the line.
Yes, that's great. And yeah, Katie also mentions that the Silicon Valley companies, are looking for alternatives to the famous H-1B process. Lance is asking, what's the pricing for immigrants to use your app, and also are lawyers paying to be listed on your app?
Correct. So right now it's free for immigrants. So immigrants can get their free evaluation generated. They can understand how their profile fits right now. Now on the marketplace, if their profile is actually not good, we are going to host courses where people can actually improve their profile so that they qualify for these visas like O1 and EB1A. So that is a part of the plan too. Now, in terms of how we are monetizing it, it's about lawyer paying us as a SaaS model. So they pay a monthly subscription, as well as whenever they get one immigrant, they are going to pay us on a per lead basis. So right now we are just mastering 3 visas, O1, EB1A, and EB2 NIW. And given how it's developed in a scalable way, we can open it up for any other new visa category as well. And we are adding referral into our product, which means even if a lawyer brings a person on the platform and person ends up not using it, we end up still sharing some part of the revenue because of they brought the person in the first time. So if there is any service offered through a referral, we still share the revenue.
Yeah, great. And then Luciana is asking how long you keep personally identifiable information on your systems.
So for the immigrant information, it is given immigration is a long journey. It's not a one-time thing. Immigrant is choosing to either use this platform in a long run. They can choose different lawyers at different parts of their journey, but it's like becoming like a one-stop place for them. Now they do, in terms of like ensuring that their data is protected. It's all within like SOC 2 and ensuring that it's on top AWS servers. It's all hosted there. Now, if an immigrant chooses to delete their data, they have all the right to get their data out, and if they don't want to use our services anymore.
Got it. Cool. Well, wonderful. That sort of brings us pretty much to the end of our session now. It's 2:30 here, and I would like to thank all our wonderful presenters for the great session today. This was really sort of whirlwind of innovation, of cool things that you all doing to make the legal system better. And So on behalf of everyone, I give you sort of a round of applause. Really appreciate you joining us, and staying up late. And yeah, so we're all very excited and cheering for you. Please keep us posted on your progress. And we look forward to, seeing you again, maybe in this forum or other place around CodeX. So thank you again. And I not quite. So Megan, are we having a session next week or in 2 weeks?
Yes, we are.
All right. So I hope to see you all next week, and we'll announce our speakers early next week then. All right. Thank you again, everyone, and see you next week. Bye-bye.